Welcome back to a timey-wimey pod where we watch every episode of Doctor Who from 2005 onwards. My name's Rebecca,
I'm Haley.
and today we are discussing Series 2, Episode 11, Fear Her. Guys, this is our last episode before the two-part finale.
I'm not ready.
No, me either. It's going to be a lot. This episode people were talking a lot about it recently because if you don't know, it was recently removed from BBC iPlayer because they're going to dub over Hugh Edwards. And so, yeah, you can't watch it on BBC iPlayer right now. But thankfully, we have Max, so we were still able to watch this episode without having to figure it out. But if you don't know, they removed the episode based off of some pretty serious and disgusting things that he did. So they're going to take him out and dub over, which I'm fine with, no problems with. But it is kind of interesting just considering everything. And it's interesting that this is where they chose to draw the line and this is where they decided to redo something.
I agree with you because we're only in series 2 and there have already been 3 separate actors who have had troubling things come out about them. And I also find it interesting that this is where they draw the line. I'm not saying I disagree with their decision. I think dubbing over someone's lines is honestly easy to do in this circumstance. We never saw his face or anything, so it's not going to take any crazy to change that, and it's not going to affect the story at all. But it's just interesting that they chose to do this specifically this way.
Yeah. I feel like maybe they just shouldn't use real life broadcasters and presenters. I don't know.
Yeah.
You just never know. But it is kind of fun when they do. But also for us as Americans, we never really recognize any of the people. So it doesn't really impact us.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Well, are you ready for some fantastic facts?
Yes, I am.
Alrighty. This episode aired June 24th, 2006. It was written by Matthew Graham. After this, the only episodes he would go on to write were The Rebel Flesh and The Almost People in season 6. And I think I prefer this episode from those two. But we'll save my thoughts for that.
Interesting. I would say for me, I slightly, and by slightly I mean barely, prefer The Almost People and Rebel Flesh. But also I kind of, now that I'm thinking about it and thinking about all the different dynamics, I know I just said that, but maybe my opinion is changing because we have Ten and Rose and we have some really great moments in this episode, in my opinion. Okay. So maybe I agree with you, but maybe by the time we get to series 6, I'll be back to my original opinion.
Yeah, we'll have to reevaluate when we get to those episodes because it has been a while.
Yeah.
And this was directed once again by Euros Lyn. Alrighty, so early drafts of the script were titled Chloe Webber Destroys the Earth, and a later potential title was You're a Bad Girl, Chloe Webber.
I feel like Fear Her was the best choice out of all of them, but it's still not my favorite.
Yeah, I agree. I guess an early draft was going to take place on another planet, which I think would have been really interesting. And Russell T Davies told Matthew Graham to purposely write this as kind of a lighter episode, write it for the younger fans, because he knew how dark the finale was going to be.
Interesting.
Now in 2012, there was a petition to get David Tennant to carry the torch to fulfill the prophecy made in this episode. And it sounds like David was all for it. He didn't get to do it. Matt Smith did, which was really fun. Love seeing the clips of that. But I feel like they should have both done it, you know?
They should have both done it. They were so close to the 50th at that point in 2012. I mean, the 50th anniversary was in 2013. So yeah, I agree with you. It should have been both of them.
But at least Matt got to do it. That is fun.
That is true.
Now, We almost didn't have this episode. We almost had a completely different episode. Instead of this episode, we were going to have an episode titled Doctor Who and the Green Knight, written by Stephen Fry, who, if you don't know, very famous British actor, writer, artist. Like, he's very well known. If you don't recognize the name, look up a picture and you'll be like, oh yeah, that guy. He's in everything. But they had to abandon his script because of budget reasons, and they pushed it to series 3. But that meant Stephen Fry was going to have to rewrite the script because now Rose was gone and Martha was in it. And because he's doing all the things, he was too busy, and the story was abandoned forever.
To this day, I wonder what that story would have entailed.
It would have taken place in the 1920s and followed like this legend of the Green Knight. And I tried to look up the myth. It's a very old British mythology story from my understanding, but I couldn't, it was too much to get into, so I couldn't.
A 1920s British mythology episode with Rose and the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just mad.
I know. Also, that title, Doctor Who and the Green Knight, that
sounds so good.
Yeah, so good. Are you ready to jump into the episode?
Yes, I am. And okay. If you guys thought that last week's episode, Love and Monsters, was the most hated episode in the Doctor Who fandom, this one is very close, if not considered worse. But you know what? I disagree completely.
Me too.
Are there problems in this episode that I have? Yes. Is it the best episode ever? No. But it's not as bad as everyone is making it out to be, in my opinion. Because we have Rose. We have 10, even though 10 disappears towards the end. We have the 2012 Olympics. We have 10 having to repack the TARDIS. And the most important and iconic part of this entire episode is we meet Kel from the Council.
The best character on Doctor Who.
He took his role and he ran with it, and he will forever be an icon in our Doctor Who Hall of Fame.
No, infamous. He's a legend, and he's being nothing but disrespected in this episode. So justice for Kel.
Justice for Kel. He really went through it. He
really did. I feel bad.
Same.
Okay, let's talk about... I agree with you, by the way. I really like this episode. I always have. I really enjoy it. Is it the strongest episode of the show? No. Is it a lot like The Idiot's Lantern? Yes. But I really love it. It's fun. Also, we have to give the props department their flowers because those drawings look so good. They look like 12-year-old drawings. Chloe's room looks lived in. It looks like a 12-year-old's room. They really killed it. Like, the art department, props department, they put their all into this. I think they did a really good job.
I completely agree with you. And that's honestly not even something I paid a whole ton of attention to. But now that you're bringing it up, you are 100% right. Because there was never any doubt in my mind that like a little girl lived in that house and in that bedroom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, I just think of all the time it must have took to like do all those drawings. Because it all looks like crowns and colored pencils, and it looks very real. Like, I believe Chloe Weber did those drawings.
Yeah. Another part of this episode we have to talk about, and maybe we'll talk more about it in a few minutes, but the TARDIS scenes.
Yes, we have some great TARDIS scenes.
We do.
But yeah, when 10 has to repark the TARDIS, iconic. It's so funny.
It's so great. I love it so much.
You know, we have to talk about the outfits. And obviously, this is, if we're talking about iconic Rose Tyler outfits, this does not make the list, but it is cute. It is fun. I like her little yellow shirt and denim jacket and pigtails. It's very cute.
It is cute, but you're right. It misses the mark.
Yeah.
A bit.
Also, I love, it's so crazy that when this came out, this episode took place in the future, but now this is like
12 years ago.
Years in the past.
That literally blows my mind because I remember 2012. 2012 was an iconic time to be alive.
The 2012 Olympics were so iconic. Like, I remember those
Oh, yeah.
Olympics so clearly. I remember being so excited because I knew they were going to be in London and I couldn't wait.
Mhm.
I like remember waiting years, like from 2008 to 2012. All I wanted was the London Olympics. I don't know why I was obsessed. Um so yeah, this always brings a lot of nostalgia for me.
Oh, same. I still have the opening ceremonies ingrained in my mind.
Yes. I'll never forget seeing One Direction. And I wasn't even like a Directioner girly like that, but it was iconic.
Oh, so iconic.
And I love how Rose is so happy to be there. Like, she's so excited. It's so cute.
And her and the doctor are just investigating the whole time in this episode. And I just love it. I love specifically when Tin is like sniffing around literally and inspecting 1 yard. And this guy comes up to him and he's like, "What's your game?" And Tin is just starts talking about random games. And he's like, "Oh, am I being facetious? Sorry." And then the man just starts chasing Tin away because he doesn't believe Tin is a police officer.
No, that scene is so funny. I was gonna bring that up. That's always one of my favorites. It's always, especially because like a child was just disappeared from that very lawn. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah, it's great. And like the whole squabble that all of the neighbors get into, and like they're all fighting, and then Kel from the council is involved and they're ganging up on him. And
I
then
know.
Tin,
They attack him for no reason.
for no reason, he's just trying to get paid and get his job done.
He just really cares about the road.
Well, I would too if that was my job.
Yeah. He's really invested and good for him.
Good for him.
I need to talk about how Rose is clocked in for this episode. She is
Hmm.
at work. Ten is like kind of like off in his own little world, just kind of like la 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 at some points. But Rose is clocked in. She's the first one to notice the missing children posters on the street. She's the first one to notice Chloe Weber. She's the first one that finds the like drawing of the dad in the closet. Like, she is literally moving the story along. She's working this whole time. She saves the day, essentially getting the pod to the torch. She's working this whole time.
Something about Rose, especially this season, like you mentioned, is she goes to work. Like she
Hmm.
immediately assumes the role of the doctor, like without even a second thought. And that's what I love about her, especially in series 2.
Me too. Like, at this point, she's a seasoned character. She understands the world and what's going on. And she's, right there along with him. Okay, let's talk about Chloe Weber because she's kind of creepy when
She is.
what's it called? The hang on, I wrote it down.
Isolus.
Yeah, that.
She's a creepy child, I'm not gonna lie. Like the Isolus, Rose mentions that it seems like the Isolus is having a temper tantrum, and low key it was.
Yeah, no, exactly. Really just, yeah, having a bad time, ruining this poor little girl's life. Like, even her mom is like terrified of her. And she tells the doctor, she's a good kid. She has A's and B's, choir, all these things. But lately, things have just been really bad.
Yeah, she's been sleeping. She's been nonstop drawing to the point her room is covered in drawings. And she's drawing really fast too. Like, not like a normal kid. Like, it's sped up
Hmm.
as she's drawing. And all of these kids are going missing. So, yeah, it's interesting. Her mom, I kind of have a problem with the mom. I feel like the mom is not that great.
Okay, I want to hear your argument, but I just feel really bad for the mom. I feel like, yeah, she has some issues, but she's dealing with all this by herself. Like, she is completely alone. And I feel really bad for her. Like, they've clearly been through a lot.
No, you're right. They have been through a lot because they allude to the dad being abusive. He had died a year prior. My problem more lies in that, like, even as the doctor and Rose are asking her questions, she's either not responding or she's not giving them a ton of information.
Mhm.
And towards the end of the episode, Rose tells her to stay with Chloe, and she just doesn't stay with Chloe.
Yeah.
So my problem is more that, but I do agree. Like, she obviously has been through a lot. I find it interesting that she says she never talked about her dad, Chloe's dad, dying with her, like, ever,
Yeah.
which I find interesting. Everyone experiences grief and responds very differently. But yeah, it was kind of interesting, just like her actions in this episode specifically.
No, she definitely makes a lot of mistakes, but yeah, I do feel really bad for her. I think she's just like really overwhelmed. It does really bug me when she's like, "Well, I took all the pencils," and then we see her with like 20 pencils still. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?"
Yeah.
We get a lot of great one-liners from 10 in this episode. One of my favorites is, "Look at the hairs on the back of my manly hairy hand."
Yes.
He wants Rose to see his manly hairy hand.
Oh my gosh, you're so right.
It's just so funny.
Oh, that's great. I also love when he's looking at the cat. And what exactly does he say? He's like, I'm not a fan of cats, especially after being threatened by a cat nun.
Yeah, like it loses its appeal. But no, I love that
Yeah.
whole scene. Rose calling the cat a beautiful boy, and he just assumes she's talking to him.
Yes, that's probably my favorite part of that whole exchange.
Yeah. Also, Rose Tyler is a cat person, confirmed, and we love that for her. I love the scene in the TARDIS where, they're trying to figure out what's going on, and Rose is like, "Oh, that girl," and Ten's like, "Of course, what girl?" Always cracks me up.
No, it's so good. I love too when they go knock on Chloe Weber's door, like the front door, and they're like, "Hi, I'm the doctor, and this is Rose. Can we see your daughter?" And Chloe's mom is like, "No." And then
Okay,
Rose
bye.
and Ten are like, "Okay, bye."
No, I love that scene. So funny.
It's so funny. But then, of course, they get into the Weber's house because her mom is like, "Please help me. I'm scared of my own child."
If I was Trish, I'd be scared too.
Oh, me too. Me too. Especially if my kid was nonstop drawing and like talking and acting weirdly.
And drawing missing children.
Yeah, I think that's the part that would get me, honestly.
Yeah. We need to talk about Maeve, the older woman who knows something's up. She knows something evil is taking these kids, and no one's listening to her.
And I think this is a moment to just really emphasize to listen to your elders.
Yeah. No, that scene, it always does kind of like, my stomach kind of sinks when he goes missing in the garden, and like the other kid kicks the ball and there's like no one there.
I know, that part is so sad. And yeah, Maeve just knows what's up. She knows there's something otherworldly going on.
Yeah.
When they're in the Weber's house and Tin just gets a jar of food, opens it, and goes to like eat it, and Rose just clears her throat and shakes her head. One of my favorite small interactions they have.
Yeah, no, I love that moment too. There is a little bit of a editing goof in that moment.
There is.
So when you first see him stick his hand into the jar and then like put it in his mouth, it's just one finger. But then after you see Rose scold him, he has two fingers in his mouth.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Say that
Sorry
again.
to anyone I ruined that scene for.
We need to talk about the drawing in Chloe Weber's closet.
Oh, yeah. I love the shot when Rose opens the closet and there's like wind. I don't know how else to describe it. Wind like blowing through, and the clothes are going back and forth, and the lighting is red. Like, that's a really good shot. It looks really good.
It does. And it's scary because like it has like that similar weird, just like creepy voice.
Oh yeah, the dad's voice is so scary.
Yeah, and there's kind of like this red light emanating too from the closet. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's just something very obviously scary, but we never actually see it. And I find that interesting how we never actually fully see the drawing, but yet
Yeah,
it's
I
still
like that we don't
super
see it.
scary. No, same. I wouldn't want to see it. And, Tin comes running up to Rose to make sure she's okay.
Oh, the mom is like, "You need to leave." And she's like, "Nothing's wrong." And Ten gives that whole speech about how there is, like, you've seen stuff out of the corner of your eye, which always just gives me the 11th hour vibes.
Ooh, you're right.
And a little while later, we meet the Isolus, and
We
we
do.
learn it's just a lonely alien. Like, it has 4 billion brothers and sisters, and your Rose is right. It is just throwing a tantrum, but I do feel bad for it.
I do feel bad for it too because the pod crashed and they depend on their mother as their empathic link. And when they're cut off from their mother, their need for each other is what sustains them and they need to be together. And the children travel in these pods and like surf solar tides and waves and whatnot. And it takes thousands and thousands of years for them to grow up. But because the pod crashed, the Isolus was all alone. And like you said, like it's just this sad, lonely alien who's throwing a temper tantrum. But like, what kid wouldn't throw a temper tantrum when they're feeling all alone and without their family?
Yeah. And it clings on to Chloe because Chloe's also feeling alone. Like, she doesn't know how to
Mm-hmm.
process everything that's happened with her dad, and she has no one to talk to.
Yeah, and she feels like she can't talk to her mom either.
Also, I like the really, like, small, simple flower design of the Isolus. I just think it looks really interesting.
I do too. I like just how it looks. It's like really,
Mm-hmm.
really pretty.
Yeah. And I like the little pod. Like, it's just a cute little egg.
It's such a cute little egg. Oh, it's so cute. But then everything takes a turn because Chloe, or I should say the Isolus, sneaks out of the house and follows Tin and Rose
Oh,
back to the
yeah.
TARDIS. And then we have one of my favorite TARDIS scenes of Tin
Mm-hmm.
and Rose.
Me too.
Tin is talking to Rose about like there's all of these things you need to get on in the universe and to like survive. And he's like, most of all, you need a hand to hold. And Rose holds out her hand. She's pointing at something, but Tin just thinks she's holding out her hand. And he grabs it and just smiles. And case closed. They're in love.
They're in love. You're right. He's so happy when, like, the way he grabs her
Mm-hmm.
hand. Oh no, it's so cute. And that is just that line. You need all these things, but what you really need is a hand to hold. That just, if that's not Ten and Rose, if that's not the Doctor and Rose, I don't know what is.
Me either.
Also, just before that, the Doctor tells Rose that he was a dad once.
He does. And I remember the first time I heard the doctor mention being a father, I was gagged
Oh,
and
me
I was
too.
so confused.
Yeah. I was just as shook as Roses.
Oh, same. And I just assumed that, oh, that happened in Classic Who. But that's technically not true. We have Susan, his
Mm-mm.
granddaughter, that we know about, but his actual children to this day in the year 2024, there is no answer to who the heck his actual children are.
And who did he have these children with? It's
Mm-hmm.
all very yeah, there's a lot of I don't even think like novelizations or Big Finish like ever really answer these questions, which I'm fine
Mm-mm.
with. I don't need answers, but it is like a really interesting part of the Doctor's character.
It is. Rose's reaction though is me. Like, what did you just say?
And I just love the way David delivers the line, like, I was a dad once, like, and then just moving
Yeah.
on.
And then of course, Tin and Rose realize the pod has crashed somewhere on that street and they're like, "Oh, it's in the road somewhere." And that's when we get one of the most iconic scenes in Doctor Who history.
Well, Rose realizes it on her own. They just know it's like somewhere on that street, and then 10 disappears because Chloe drew him and the TARDIS.
You were correct. Thank you for correcting me. You were
You're
right.
welcome. But she again is putting in the work, thinking ahead. She realizes it's in that pothole. She has to take the council axe out of the council van and break open the council road.
While being yelled at by Kel from the council. And it's just such an iconic scene. And the people that don't think it's iconic, you all are wrong, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Kel from the council is one of the best side characters in Doctor Who.
No, he's so good. We love him. There's a few TikTok edits of this scene, and
There is.
they're always my favorite. It's so funny.
And on her own, she realizes that, hey, it needs a lot of heat. But Chloe Webber's like, it needs more than heat. And she's like, oh, what do I do? But then on the TV, she sees the man carrying the Olympic torch, which is a beacon of hope. And that's when she realizes that's where she's going.
And during this, everyone at the Olympics has disappeared because Chloe drew the stadium, and now everyone is gone.
Yeah, she's also drawing the whole world, but she's drawing the globe. And I'm wondering how that works. I would have thought she would have had to draw individual people.
Yeah, you know what, you're right.
So I don't know what that's about, but thankfully Rose gets to the torch in time, throws the pod, and the pod I don't know if cling is the right word, but it just basically gets thrown to the torch and it starts basically turning on and activating. And that's when the Isolus is like, I can go home now. I can go back to my pod. Goodbye, Chloe Webber. I love you. And it just leaves. And I feel like it fought for so long and it just left so easily once the pod was truly activated.
Yeah, I guess in my mind, I think it just didn't realize that it would actually work. Like they were actually going to be able to go home, and they were actually going to fix the pod. But when it realizes that they did, they got to go back home to their family.
That's a good point. I think I also have to remind myself that this is a child. Like the Isolus is a child.
Yeah.
Who's scared and lonely.
Yeah.
And we think that's like the end of everything, but 10 is missing. The crowds from the Olympics, like everyone's back in the crowd. All of the kids have reappeared, all of it, except 10. And then the drawing of Chloe's dad in the closet is like activated again, basically.
And now it's like somehow all the doors are locked.
Yeah.
And they can't get out. And it's like escaping the closet. It's coming to get them. And this is a really scary moment. And you can like feel how scared they both are and like the trauma they've gone through. But what do you think of this scene?
Every time I would watch this episode, I would be so confused about how that even worked. Like, everyone came back, but the drawing of her dad was activated. Like, that never made sense until I was actually paying attention. And it's clarified that that was happening because Chloe and her mom both believed and felt that it was so real. And that's why it was so scary and so powerful. But once Chloe's mom reassured Chloe that, hey, I'm here with you. You're not alone now. And started singing to her. And then Chloe started singing with her mom. That's when like it quieted down and died out. And it was just like leftover energy basically from the Isolus.
Yeah, and that is a really nice scene when her mom was like, you're not alone. You'll never be alone again. Like, I'm here. And it is really nice to see them have that moment.
It really is. But poor Rose at the end, she's so sad because she's like, everyone's back except the doctor. I need the doctor.
Who's gonna hold his hand now?
Such a deep cut of a line.
I know. Oh, so good.
But then she watches the telly of the Olympics and sees none other than Ten himself carrying the torch.
Mm-hmm. No, I love this moment. I love seeing 10 with the torch and, getting to light the Olympic flame. It's a great moment.
Yes, it is. And then we get to the end of this episode, and I love the scene when they're reunited and they're just so
Mm-hmm.
happy. Tin is so happy. He's eating a cupcake. There's fireworks going off because of the Olympics. It's such a great vibe. Until
Well, Rose has to say, they keep trying to tear us apart, but they never ever will, which just really breaks my heart. Like, she really, really believes that she will be with this man forever, for the rest of her life, and that nothing will ever separate them. And she believes that to her core. And even Ten says, never say never ever. And then they have this moment, which doesn't really make sense. And like, it's a good spooky moment, but also doesn't make sense. Where he's like, something's coming, a storm's a brewing.
I've never really thought of it that way. I just kind of always assumed that since he's a Time Lord, I don't know,
Oh,
he just
fair.
detects things easier like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like there's
that's
a
fair.
like you know how the sky and air smells when it's going to rain, like the day before it rains?
Mhm.
Maybe it was something like that.
No, that's fair.
That or
But
it was just written that way to spook the viewers.
yeah, it was definitely written just to like spook people. I can't imagine being a fan during this time, watching week to week and knowing Billy Piper's leaving and you just are like on edge this all these weeks. Like, props to y'all if you were there. What is the heart of this story? The heart of the episode?
Being or feeling lonely can feel really consuming and really powerful, but just because you feel that way doesn't mean it's necessarily true.
I like that. And maybe there's something about, I don't know, like not letting your past haunt you. Like, her dad was gone, but she still like was really scared of him, and he had all this power over her. So maybe there's something there. But yeah.
You'll always need a hand to hold.
Oh, yeah. And I think we both know who the star of the show is. It's definitely our main man Kel from the council.
Yes, absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt, he is the best character in this entire episode.
Yeah, justice for Kel. Like, all people do is attack him, tear up his roads. I love when he comes in and he's like, I don't care if there's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs under that road. You don't.
Tear it up. No, he's so great. He is so committed to the council and just, I love him. So I completely agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any reviews from the past?
We do. This first review I have is from Reddit from 11 years ago. However, the user deleted their account, so the comment is still up, but I have no idea what the username was. Just so you guys know if you're listening. But they said about Fear Her that there is nothing at all appealing in this episode and the girl is
Oh.
extremely annoying. And this is coming from someone who draws. I've warned all of my friends who were starting the show to skip it, and all of my friends who have watched the show agree.
Okay, I understand why people don't like it. Like, I know it's not
Yeah,
the best episode, but I like it, okay? It's
I
important
enjoy
to
it.
me.
I know. I really enjoy this episode. I watch it on every rewatch. And like I said at the beginning, is it like one of the best episodes ever? No, but like it doesn't deserve the hate in my opinion. I think there's worse episodes out there.
Oh yeah. It's not like outwardly egregious and offensive to me. It's just a fun little romp. Especially
It
with the
is.
context of knowing that Russell wanted this to be a lighthearted for the kids episode. It's just, it ain't that serious, y'all.
I agree. This other review I have is from IMDb, and it was written on August 5th, 2011 by Dr. Underdash Yang, and they said, while Fear Her isn't one of the best episodes of Series 2, it is by no means the worst. Lava Monsters, I'm looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
The acting is good, the idea is good, and the dad drawing in the wardrobe is generally scary, especially for children, but something just isn't quite right. I don't know, perhaps it's the kid, her voice is annoying, but like I said, everyone else is superb in it. The end scene of the doctor carrying the flame is cheesy and corny, but I think that's gotta be forgiven. I've come to accept a bit of cheesiness and corniness in New Who. Overall, it's a solid episode, which, while it's never going to be anyone's favorite or win any awards, is still an enjoyable 45 minutes of TV. I disagree. I don't find the doctor carrying the torch cheesy.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it too. I think it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
The last review I have is also from IMDb from the user how-now-brown-cow on August 29th. Sorry. That's a great username.
I
I was
love
just
it.
laughing because I didn't really comprehend the username before I said it out loud. But they wrote on August 29th, 2006, saying, is it just me, or are people a tad too fussy these days? So, Fear Her isn't on such a big scale as the rest of the series, but that still doesn't make it a bad episode. And they continue by saying, the plot is good, the acting is good, and it also has a rather sinister part. A half living drawing of Chloe's dead father is lurking in her wardrobe and says, I'm coming to hurt you. Overall, I think it's a pretty good Doctor Who episode, and I don't know what the fuss is about.
I agree. Like, it's fine. Like, people need to calm down.
They do. So if you don't like this episode, that's fine, and that's your
Mm-hmm.
prerogative. But like, I don't think it's an episode that deserves to be hated on like it has.
No. Any final thoughts before we go?
I believe that's it.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back next week with the Army of Ghost.
And in the meantime, feel free to follow us on our social media on Instagram and TikTok at TimeyWimeyPod.
And feel free to email us anything and everything to timeyimeypod@gmail.com.
And we will talk to you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.